Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, 2 chances to win fantabulous prizes, plus a plot to kill Ivanka Trump. But before we get to any of that, my friends, does it sometimes feel like we are living in Gotham City? To me, it really, really does the past few days. We're hearing stories about how residents have to put up their own barriers and barricades to protect their neighborhood from gang violence. Some might even call them vigilantes. I call them concerned residents.
Where's Phoenix Jones when you need him?
I think he's in jail. Wait, rehab, jail, probation. That's where our vigilante is. Yeah, so these guys aren't Phoenix Jones. These guys are just neighbors who are pissed off that a baby almost got shot in the head through a wall in North Seattle. Now, 2 things can be true at once. Seattle might look beautiful in some parts of it, and some parts of it might be an absolute war zone. And what I saw this weekend is exactly what I've been warning about the whole time we've been talking about the third World Cup coming to Seattle. This weekend on Sunday, my wife and I like being tourists in our own city. So we went to check out the waterfront. Now, let me give you the whole picture of what we saw this weekend. We drove on I-5. I posted a video which my wife took while we were driving. I did not. I asked her to do it, so I wasn't violating the law for all the people that always go, hey, who's taking that video for you? If you look at I-5, the freeways are covered with graffiti. Covered with graffiti. If I was smart, you know what I would tell all the tour buses who are coming in for the World Cup? Take 509, go the back route, take 99 to the hotels downtown. That way you can forget everything that's on I-5. I-5 is covered, absolutely covered in graffiti. Remember when Joe Biden came to town not too long ago, and they didn't bother removing the graffiti, but they shut down I-5, so you see the beast and the motorcade and all the graffitis behind it? And I think what I wrote at the time was, this reminds me of the kid who didn't clean up the house when the parents were on vacation and the parents came back to find the mess. Too bad Joe Biden's senile and didn't notice any of that. But that picture that was taken by the AP or Seattle Times of the presidential motorcade on I-5 surrounded by graffiti, that hasn't changed. You get off at the Seneca Street exit going into downtown. Every day I have been down there in the last 2 weeks, there is a different bum at the corner holding a sign asking for money. A different one every single day. It's not, oh, this is one guy's corner. Every day it's a different addict down there at the corner. Some days it's a girl. Every single day. Then when you get into the downtown corridor, you go, wait a minute, did they get rid of all the homeless people? Where are all the homeless people? It doesn't seem like they're in the hotel area. Then once you get past the hotel area, then you see the tents. Then you see the homeless. Sunday, my wife and I drove here to the studio, free parking at the studio, so I left my car here, hopped on the free shuttle, which they now offer with your taxpayer dollars or FIFA World Cup money, that goes from Seattle Center down to the waterfront. Very convenient, by the way. I do ask why it's free, because everybody on that shuttle is a tourist and would have been willing to pay for said shuttle. I know because I asked a few people. It's very convenient. Goes right from Seattle Center down to the waterfront, goes the whole length of the waterfront, turns around, comes right back.
I was just in Philadelphia last year, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. They had a system that was great. Took you to all the spots that you wanted to see. You paid for it.
Exactly.
You paid for it.
So here's the thing.
We were perfectly happy with it. Right. It did exactly what it said it was going to do.
And you pay for it, $1.50, $2, whatever it is, you pay the thing you get on. There is a big piece of glass blocking the pay machine. It's there, but they're not charging for it. It's right there. Lost opportunity. And everybody on that shuttle was a tourist. So we get off at the aquarium. We go check out the new aquarium. My wife's really into wildlife. That's why she married a beast like me. So you look around the aquarium. She wanted to see the baby sea otter, the new one that's adorable. The aquarium itself is pretty much the same as you remember it. They built a new building, which seems more like it's designed to have some kind of occasion at. It's big, it's spacious. I can see where the karaoke machine for the mega mitzvah goes right next to the fish tank, and here's where the hors d'oeuvres would be served. But it's nice. It's beautiful. The waterfront itself, spotless. Spotless. I didn't see a single street person. Nowhere. There's a guy with parrots. He'll put them on your shoulder, take pictures with the whole family. There's a guy with a giant snake. He'll take pictures. These are licensed street vendors. There's a guy selling kettle corn. There's a guy selling popcorn. Then you've got the virtual reality experiences with the Sasquatch they just opened and the Wings Over Washington, which looks great. I didn't do it. We went on the Great Wheel after the aquarium. Lovely, fantastic, beautiful. And I said, this is what the city should be every single day, not just before the World Cup. If you can make Seattle look like that, because there's a major event coming to town, why can't you do that every single day? And the truth is, you could if you wanted to. The new waterfront, which they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on. There's kids playing in the park. There's a park they built with these sea creature climbing structures that my kids would have loved at that age. Nobody doing drugs, no needles. It's immaculate. It's the Seattle I moved to years ago from New York when New York was starting to go into its decline. And it made me sad. It made me sad because I said, I'm going to enjoy it while we have it. Really, really am. But I know what's going to happen the day after the World Cup is over. You know what's going to happen the day after the World Cup is over because we see it every year. Every year they clean out the downtown corridor for cruise season. And then, as soon as the summer is over, the homeless flood back in. What I think about is the hundreds of millions of dollars they spent on the waterfront. And it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And we look like the world-class city they want us to be. They want to claim that we are. But you go a few blocks over, and all the same problems are right there. They're all there over the weekend. Gang violence in North Seattle. So bad that a baby was almost killed when a bullet came through the house. 40 shell casings were found by the Seattle Police Department after a shootout at 4 a.m. on Saturday. This has been getting worse and worse and worse. It's so bad, in fact, that some of the residents have decided to put out their own barricades and barriers to block off a street. And you know what? I think they're right. I 100% sympathize with those residents because you drive through Georgetown and the people in Georgetown who've had enough of the homeless RVs have dropped their own concrete barricades out there, saying they've had enough. City comes by and says, who put these there? I don't know. They magically appeared. Concrete spontaneously formed right there in the street to keep those RVs away. These neighbors in North Seattle are dealing with gunfights between drug dealers, gunfights between pimps, and they block the streets. Now, something fascinating about how they block the streets. They did it on the streets, which the city had designated to be blocked because, you know, our city has decided that some of these streets have to be these no-go zones. They put up these signs everywhere during COVID. Some of them they made permanent. So all the residents did was put up the barricades the city was going to put up anyway. And the city loses their minds because now the story is viral. If your city is a world-class city, you don't need residents putting up barriers and barricades to keep the pimps and the drug dealers out who almost killed a baby, who are opening fire, who are having gun battles in the middle of residential neighborhoods because our city said, hey, you know what? Let's legalize prostitution by default. We're not going to prosecute for it because, you know, sex workers are workers. And in fact, we're going to turn off those cameras for the World Cup because we're worried about exposing human trafficking. You've now allowed Aurora Avenue to become infinitely worse than it's ever been. Exponentially worse than it's ever been. And that violence is now spilling over into close neighborhoods. And what I was concerned about as soon as they said the World Cup is coming to town, I said, great, they're going to clean out the whole area. But we only have, 1,100 deployable officers? We're supposed to have around 2,500? So what are they going to do? They're going to have all the police officers down by the stadiums doing crowd control, down by the hotels, keeping everybody safe. And what's going to be happening in the rest of Seattle? And this weekend was a perfect example of it. Because as I looked at that beautiful waterfront, as I looked at the beautiful attractions and how much money it's magnificent. It really is magnificent. I couldn't help but think to myself, go 2 blocks over, like we did when we were walking the parade route for the Seahawks. When I was driving in for that, when I was leaving the city, I made that right up onto 6th Avenue from Cherry Street, right near the police department. And guess what's there? The homeless tents. As I was walking to Seattle Center to get that shuttle from the studio, a place where there's normally 1 tent near our studio, which has been there since we've moved in, is now 4. I got people telling me that out in Georgetown, that's where they're pushing all the RVs to. I got people out in Bremerton who says all these homeless are showing up. We don't know where they're coming from. Moses Lake, all these homeless are showing up. We assume they're coming from Seattle. They're popping up all over the state. Because the deal they had during the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, during the Taylor Swift concert, was, guys, go somewhere else for a couple weeks, then you can come right back. Katie Wilson is in big trouble. How do I know this? Somebody in the newsroom who I disagree with politically. We were having a discussion today, and we were discussing Katie Wilson, and both of us have issues with Katie Wilson. When the right and the left are mad at you, you have really screwed up. Really screwed up. So what's happening? The activists are mad at her that she's sweeping all these homeless people out of the downtown corridor. You think to appease them, she isn't going to let them come right back afterwards? Of course she will. And the ultimate Seattle hypocrisy. These neighbors up in North Seattle have to put out barricades to protect their neighborhood from pimps, drug dealers, gang violence. They put out these barricades that were supposed to be put out by the city to close that street anyway. I saw a headline from the Seattle Times celebrating the fact that barricades were put out to close the Pike Place Market to traffic. And that's something the activists have been begging for years. We just want foot traffic down there. Never mind the fact that handicapped people are going to have a harder time getting down there. Never mind the fact that it's going to make traffic even worse down there. Never mind what it's going to do for the vendors in Pike Place Market itself. But now you've got your barricades. So put in the barricades to protect the tourists. But don't put in the barricades to protect the people who pay the tax dollars to pay for the barriers that protect the tourists. We get stuck with all this afterwards. You have a beautiful waterfront. It's gorgeous. But why aren't you charging the tourists for the free transportation that our tax dollars are paying for? We're the ones who are going to have to deal with afterwards. What happens to all the stuff that's built for the World Cup or redone for the World Cup? There's upkeep. There's maintenance that goes into it. You want to know what happens when it sits there? And it sits there, and it sits there, and it sits there for decades. Look at Seattle Center. Now that Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson and a couple of Seattle City Council members want to redo Seattle Center from the World's Fair in the 1960s, they haven't done anything significant to that place since Elvis Presley was there, since JFK opened the fair himself via phone. They haven't done anything significant to that place. So now they said, well, we want to spend $1.5 billion. And then today I see an article from the Center Square. Well, they're not really sure it's going to be $1.5 billion. Maybe 1.6, maybe 1.7, maybe $2 billion. We don't know how much it's actually going to be. So now we, the taxpayers, have to pay for the privilege of the World Cup attractions and the waterfront being redone because there's no long-term plan for upkeep. The long-term plan is let the homeless back as soon as this is over. That's what it's going to be. What, you think that whole waterfront is going to be covered with feces, needles, and graffiti as soon as all this is done? Sure, it may go another season, and then cruise season comes by, and then they clean it up again, and then they let it go to hell again. And that's what makes me sad. Because if you can keep it nice for a few days out of the year, you can do it year-round. There's just no political will to actually do that. And that makes me sad. Because I kept saying to my wife while we were down there, oh my God, the kids would have loved this. You know, I got a teenager who's off on some trip in New York this week. I got 2 kids who are one on gap year, one in the Israeli army. You know, I'm not taking little kids down there till I have grandkids one day. Will my grandkids even be able to be in the city? Will their parents be able to afford to live in the city? No, because we'll be paying the bills for all this insanity. As property taxes just go up and up and up, and other taxes just go up and up and up. And as the wealthy leave the city, who's left holding the bill? You and me. Yeah, radio money ain't TV money, my friends. I'm not wealthy, okay? Let's just put that one out there. We're going to be the ones who are left paying for this. And it made me sad because my kids would have loved everything at the waterfront. But then again, how many years would it last until you go, I ain't going down there. I'm not going down there. That's Seattle. And I know a lot of you are thinking that already. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Josh in Federal Way. Josh, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, how's it going?
It's a day, my friend. It's a day. What's up?
So we decided Saturday to take the boat into downtown Seattle. We never done it before. Mm-hmm. Went all the way from Tacoma into Seattle downtown and got a little slip there for just a couple hours. We thought we'd go and have lunch, and you were right. It was beautiful. The sidewalks were clean, no graffiti. The glass to the restaurants were see-through and clean. Kids were everywhere. Families. It was Seattle 30 years ago. It was amazing. We kept. It's pretty sad when you have to talk that you want to go back to that city that was that way 30 years ago, and if you're going to go back in 2 weeks, it's going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's magnificent. It really is. I will tell anybody this. I am saying this on air to our massive audience. I am saying, guys, it is gorgeous. And here's what I'm going to say. Do what Josh did. Go down there and see it for yourself while we have it like this. Because the problem is Josh and I both know this ain't going to last. Right, Josh?
Oh, no. No. You give it a month, it's back to the same. 3 weeks, it's back. Yeah, it's
my guess would be right after Seafair, right?
Waterfront, right? The
Right.
Waterfront is such a beautiful, beautiful place, and the park with the kids. I mean, it was loaded with families.
Yeah,
loaded with families.
Yeah. Did they look like tourists to you? Because they all look like tourists to me. You know how I know they were tourists? Tell me if you saw this. There's some scavenger hunt going on downtown where they're wearing these goofy hats, and I go, tourist. You saw that, right?
I did see that. Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Yeah. But so
anyway,
tell me how it is in Tacoma. How is it in Tacoma right now?
Well, Tacoma's rough.
Mm-hmm.
Tacoma's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, I got this one from Harvey. He said this on the KVI text line. He says another place they're pushing the homeless is by Albert Lee and Ballard near Fred Meyer. And Harvey, I'll just say they've been sending them there for years. That was the big fight over hostile architecture. You remember that nonsense? Crazy stuff. Josh, appreciate the call. You stay safe out there. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Rico says 12th and Jackson is super bad because that's where they're sending everybody out of the downtown core. And this one here from the 425, chaos in Washington is why I am already planning on escaping when I retire. Unfortunately, we hear that just too often. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, the tale of 2 protests. People protesting for money for trans refugees and a whole bunch of people protesting against bike lanes. We'll tell you about the insanity that happened this weekend when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Before we tell you about the two insane protests here this weekend in Seattle, just want to remind everybody we have two contests going on this week. Here's the first one. You can win a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Disclosure Day at AMC South Center on June 8th. Universal Pictures' Disclosure Day, the new original event film created and directed by Steven Spielberg. And the film asks, what if we found out we weren't alone? So basically, it's people freaking out over the news we've gotten the past couple of weeks. But you can go see the movie version of it. It's a lot more exciting. Now, if you want to win tickets to see Disclosure Day, head on over to KVI.com. You go to KVI.com, you enter your information for your chance to win. Remember, that contest is only over at KVI.com to win tickets to see Disclosure Day. So, on Saturday, the trans Tifa, trans lunatic activists were out there marching. What are they marching for? They want money for trans refugees. The tens of thousands of trans refugees that are coming to Seattle. That's their quote, by the way. Tens of thousands. I was downtown yesterday, on Sunday, at the waterfront. And normally in Seattle, let's just say you have to play that game of, is it a guy or is it a girl? And that wasn't at the waterfront. I just saw tourists. I just saw families. So where are these tens of thousands of refugees? Is it like the Neil Diamond song? On the boats and on the planes, they're coming to Seattle. Was it like that? Because I didn't see any of that. But they're asking for money from the city. You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember a couple of years ago? These illegal aliens in Kent showed up to a Kent hotel demanding somebody pay their bills. And then, after somebody paid their bills and ran out of money, they said, we're going to demand it from Seattle. So they showed up to the Seattle City Council demanding somebody pay their bills for their Kent hotel rooms. And then when Sarah Nelson, the then Seattle City Council president, said no, they occupied the sports courts at Garfield High School until somebody said, we'll pay for your hotels. You remember that? So Seattle is for suckers. You can come here, and eventually somebody's going to cave and give you the money. Well, now, the trans activist group is demanding the money. I have never seen such a mentally unwell group in my life as what Jonathan Cho and Cam Higbee got on video. Jonathan Cho's walking down there. There's some dude dressed as a trans vampire who's talking crazy stuff. I can't play the audio. Every other word is an F-bomb, attacking Jonathan Cho, attacking Cam Higbee. They stole Cam Higbee's hat again. This is what they're protesting. Why does every trans event turn violent when there's a protest involved? Why? Give us what we want or else. A not-so-subtle threat. That was on Saturday. There was another event this weekend in my neck of the woods. This protest was a whole bunch of people in Mount Baker and Seward Park showing up to protest that they are closing Lake Washington Boulevard for 3 days a week for bicycle days. Now, for those of you who don't live over there, I live in South Seattle. Let me tell you the disaster this has caused. Number one, they did a road diet on Rainier Avenue. So they shortened it down to less lanes. Then they had a bike lane. Excuse me, not a bike lane, a bus lane. Then they had a bus lane, and I never see a bus in that sucker. Then what they started doing was all these empty storefronts along Rainier Avenue, they started putting homeless treatment facilities and hygiene stations in them. So now, Rainier Avenue, every single bus stop, homeless people. Every single bus stop, drug overdoses. Every single one, and now it's blocked up with traffic. So people try to find other ways around. And some people said, well, we'll just take the lake. Ha, ha, ha. Not so fast. So what do they do? A road diet on those streets as well. And there's always cyclists down there. Then they start putting out speed bumps. Now they're saying, we're closing it 3 days a week. We're closing this thing, which means they really want to close this thing full time. They just haven't actually done it yet. That's going to be next. So what happens? This weekend, they announce the big closure. And what happens? You have residents come out to protest. Tammy Morales, former socialist Seattle City Council member, whose brainchild this was, and Katie Wilson, socialist mayor, who's celebrating other people's terrible, terrible work. So Jonathan Cho got this video of what happened this weekend.
Who are you referring to?
Baby Mayor Katie.
Baby Mayor Katie. Why is she a queen?
Because she's behaving so Trumpian.
People from all over Seattle can come here all summer long, people of all ages, to walk, bike, stroll.
What streets are being closed that are so problematic?
Lake Washington Boulevard being closed every weekend for 3 months is a problem.
It was a lazy, inequitable, unfair thing to do.
Did she consult your neighborhood at all?
No.
Some neighbors say that you didn't consult them and decided to do this. Why didn't you consult them?
All right, keep up. Go ahead, Mayor, pedal off.
There's been a lot of public process over the years. So there's been a ton of both formal and informal people weighing in. And I thought that it was important to make this decision in time for this summer. So,
It is unfair to the overall South Seattle neighborhood. It has going to have tremendous reduced access to the lake, and it's sending all these cars through our narrow streets.
I do want to acknowledge the protesters here. I know that not everyone is happy about this decision. I'm someone who has been very... I hear you. I'm someone who has very often been on the protesting side of things. So I just want to say to you, your experiences matter. Your voices matter.
I'm a member of the 37th District Democrats, and I didn't hear anything about it.
Don't they do this every year?
Last year was every other weekend.
But this is now every weekend for 3 straight months starting Memorial Day weekend.
But it starts at 7 o'clock on a Friday night and ends on a Monday morning. Or if it's a holiday weekend, it ends on a Tuesday morning. So the boulevard is, nobody's cycling out here overnight.
I think that it shouldn't be every weekend of every month through the summer. I think we can compromise and have days that work.
I love the fact that we're going for like a run bike together on Lake Washington Boulevard.
Mayor Wilson, be safe. Take care.
So, Jonathan Cho is doing that interview with Katie Wilson while she is riding a bicycle on the path, the street being closed. Have politicians not learned yet not to do these bicycle photo ops? Whether it's they show up in their giant SUVs and then pull the bicycle out, or Katie Wilson, who looks like she hasn't been on a bicycle since middle school. She's got one with a kid carrier in the back, and I go, hey, where's the kid in the back of that? Also, Katie, your giant forehead is showing through that helmet because the helmet's sitting on the back of your head, and it's not buckled on the bottom. So tell me you don't actually know how to wear your helmet. And she's cycling to get away from Jonathan Cho. It's like Cho's waving goodbye to her.
Well done! Well done! Well done! Well done! I'm sorry, Wilson! Wilson, I'm sorry! Wilson!
Like, bye.
Yes, as she bikes away, cycles into the distance with Jonathan Cho chasing after her, trying to get an interview. She says, like, bye to all the cars on Lake Washington Boulevard. And did you notice who all those people were who were protesting? Democrats. Because she didn't consult anybody. They claim they did all these surveys. I live in South Seattle. I don't know what surveys they're talking about. I don't know what neighborhood meetings they're talking about. They wanted that street closed, so they closed it. No mind given, no heed given to any of the businesses that are going to be affected by this farther down in Leschi. No consideration given to people who have to drive down there because they live down there. No consideration whatsoever to the traffic and that you are now diverting cars that are speeding onto residential streets. Oh, you want to know why your Vision Zero project to reduce traffic deaths hasn't stopped, hasn't gotten better? Oh, because you keep sending cars zipping down residential streets because you've now taken major arteries and reduced them or closed them with no community input whatsoever. How much did they spend on those bike lanes? What, $11 million a mile? You guys could have built a beautiful boardwalk along with Lake Washington and made it into a tourist attraction. And you could have had ice cream shops and other vendors down there that would pay the city rent. You could have had parking down there that would have paid the city money, could have been a revenue generator. And now instead you managed to tick off your own base. If the left and the right are both tired of Katie Wilson, and it's only been, 6 months into her administration, you think she's actually going to make it the full term? Yeah, I don't know about that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, turns out a member of the IRGC was caught plotting to kill Ivanka Trump. Does this mean we're going back to war with Iran? Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just before we get to what's going on in D.C., when you look around what's happening in Seattle, the amount of texts we're getting about what's happening of people's experiences going to sporting events, coming to downtown Seattle, they're all echoing what I just said. So here's one here. This one. Just walked from 4th and Royal Brom to T-Mobile Park using the same route World Cup attendees will use when they go to and from the light rail. The city installed sidewalk graphics directing you to the light rail and stadium, but they still haven't cleaned up the graffiti along the route, and there's a homeless tent along the way as well. Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about. I drive that route from time to time. I know exactly what you're talking about. So we should probably do an under-over bet. Do you think they're going to clean this stuff up like the day before the World Cup because they figure it's just going to come back in the meantime? What do you think? When do you think it's going to happen? Yeah, you're seeing this all over the city. The same kind of stuff. This one here from Marino, who says, I guess we'll have to take the boat to get to Leshai, meaning Blue Water Bistro. How do we end up with such a knucklehead forehead for a mayor? Oh, these jokes ain't going to stop. They're not going to stop. Switching gears over to what happened in D.C. over the weekend. First daughter Ivanka Trump, according to the New York Post, was targeted for assassination by an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps trained terrorist in a twisted plot to avenge the president taking out his mentor. Recently captured Mohammed Bakr Saad Dawood al-Saidi. Wow, think about the monogram towels for that guy. 32, made a pledge to kill Ivanka and even had a blueprint of her Florida home. The Iraqi national was allegedly targeting President Donald Trump's family in response to the killing of Iranian military chief Qasem Soleimani. He died like a dog in a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad 6 years ago. After Qasem was killed, he went around telling people, we need to kill Ivanka to burn down the house of Trump in the way he burned down our house. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Al-Saidi also posted a picture of a map showing the enclave in Florida where Ivanka and her husband, Jared Kushner, have a home. He posted it on X alongside a threat in Arabic, which translates to, I say the Americans look at this picture and know that neither of your palaces nor the Secret Service will protect you. We are currently in the stage of surveillance and analysis. I told you our revenge is a matter of time. So I hear this, and I figure Trump's going to go scorched earth. You don't threaten a member of the family. I figure that's it. Iran's going to be gone from the face of the earth. This is one of the regime's trained terrorists. That means while they're pretending to have peace, they are planning on killing us at the same time. And then this weekend, no scorched earth. Yeah, there were some strikes, as the U.S. called them, of self-defense because Iran was gearing up to do bad things. But I think everybody on my side of this really says to themselves, can we just finish this already? Can we just be done? The IRGC stalled for 47 years in negotiating. Can we just wrap this up now? Here's the problem. Trump does not want to take out the oil facilities of Iran because then they become even more desperate. And there's no way they're going to be able to rebuild their economy without something like oil if you get a more moderate government in. However, the longer this goes on for, those high gas prices are there, and the average American doesn't care about most of this. And they're going to say, why are we doing this if it's making my life more expensive? Now, I think this is a just fight. I think this is a correct fight. But what's the timeline on coming to a deal? Every time it seems like we're about to take out Iran and go for broke and be done with this whole thing, it seems like there's another somewhat deal. Why? Maybe the final deal will be something I agree with, but right now I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not. You want to agree with me? You want to disagree with me? You give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757, because I think the longer this thing goes on, the worse politically it is, but also the better it is for Iran, because you got people in the media lying and saying, look how they're holding off the United States. No, we can flatten them at any time we want. Their economy is in shambles. They have no control over anything. They have no Air Force. They have no Navy. They have no Army, all gone. But they do have a threat of terrorism against ships going through the Hormuz Strait. We're being bullied by these guys? Why don't you just send in the Coast Guard to do what they do to all the drug runners and take out those little fast boats that are attacking the ships? Why don't we just do that? Why don't we just send in the Navy? We don't like when you hit our ships. I say we just finish this now. Let me know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Kenneth on Whidbey Island. Kenneth, what's going on, man?
Ari, you said a week ago, for me, at the corner of 525 and Bayview, where they have those protests, I thought, okay, fine. I'll see what can happen. I'll go by there and maybe get some pictures, all right? Well, I'm not going there, no way whatsoever. Those people are crazy. The traffic gets backed up at the stop sign. There are people that stand on the hill in that public parking space where you can park your car to take a bus, transit. That's full of insane, crazy maniacs. When I came on the side road to get into that parking lot, those people will come at you like crazy maniacs.
Oh, that's what I warned you about, Kenneth. Remember, I said it. You can't go over there if it's not safe, man, because those people are crazy.
They're nuts, and they're getting by with it. And I thought to myself, if I park my car there, even if I was going to take a bus, to go somewhere. Now, you just got done saying that a terrorist got the blueprints for Ivanka Trump's house. They could get my license plate number, and the next thing you know, I'm chewed up somewhere, laying in a who knows where.
Well, think about this. What would they do to your car while you're gone? And yet, let me ask you this. Has anybody called the police over there to report these guys? Are the police even anywhere
they're
within
all
sight?
the time, yeah. Nothing. I heard, and maybe I was gone at the time, I'm sure I must have been, but there was a shooting there a year ago from somebody across the street at one of the houses.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. How they're afraid of the mob so much they will do whatever they want and let them have control of this area. Is this a park and ride to take the mass transit or the ferry or something?
Right. They occupy the place, Ari. They're there every Saturday from 9, I think it's 9 to 11 or 10 to 12.
And you can't use it. And you can't use it.
You can't if you get in there, and if they think that, it is my opinion that if they even think that you're taking pictures or somebody's in a van, you're history, buddy.
Yeah.
You're done. You're cooked.
That's exactly the kind of stuff they do everywhere, and for some reason our officials just let them get away with it. Kenneth, I'm glad you're safe, man. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, it was Memorial Day weekend, but not in Minneapolis, where apparently they were honoring George Floyd instead of our veterans. We'll tell you about this insanity when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just before we get to our woke insanity for the day, just a reminder to everybody, we are running 2 contests today. That is 2 contests today. And our second contest, we are going to be out at the Roy Rodeo this weekend. That's June 6th and June 7th. So we are giving away tickets to the Roy Rodeo. It's going to be out there. I'm going to be out there on Sunday. I'll be out there at the KVI booth. So you want to come out to the Roy Rodeo on Sunday, you can come see me. Mr. KVI, you going to be out there on Sunday, or are you just going to be there Saturday? Which day are you going to be out there?
I'm going to be out there Saturday.
Saturday.
I'll be out there with Zach on Saturday.
So you'll be there Saturday with Zach. I'll be out there by myself.
Well, there'll be other people
around.
As far as KVI is concerned, the listeners of KVI, it's you'll be the only KVI.
So come keep me company at the Roy Rodeo at the KVI booth. But if you want to win free tickets to the Roy Rodeo, text the word RIDE, R-I-D-E, as in Katie Wilson doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. Text the word RIDE, R-I-D-E, let's ride, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. Yesterday was obviously Memorial Day, and everybody put up their Memorial Day posts. I saw some really beautiful ones, some really great stories, some amazing graphics. And then I saw what was going on in Minnesota. Tim Walz decided to skip the Memorial Day ceremony, and instead, where did he go? He went to George Floyd Square. All right, let me explain what George Floyd Square is. It's if our autonomous zone in Capitol Hill had never broken up, but it's only 1 block big now. So this block in front of this convenience store where he was in the middle of committing a counterfeiting crime when he was getting arrested, George Floyd, the saint of Minneapolis, who held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. Hey, good news, everybody. He's been sober for 6 years. Oh, wait, too soon? Too soon. Anyway, George Floyd, Tim Walz dances in George Floyd Square, which is basically a whole bunch of barriers and garbage thrown together in this little thing, and then doesn't do anything for Memorial Day. Wait, wasn't a cornerstone of his campaign about how he was in the National Guard? He wasn't good at being in the National Guard, but he was in the National Guard. Don't you think he'd have a little bit more reverence for this kind of stuff? Maybe. Well, turns out his wasn't the worst of the day. The worst of the day was the city of Minneapolis. So you figure first thing in the morning, post something for Memorial Day, then post whatever you got. Not in Minneapolis. You ready for this? Here's what they wrote. Today we remember George Floyd. 6 years ago, George Floyd's murder forced our city to confront painful truths about race, public safety, and inequality. You mean you let a bunch of activists light your city on fire? Every May 25th is a reminder of that grief and a renewed call to action to keep pursuing the progress this tragedy catalyzed. So we should just give in to protesters. Is that what you're saying? We encourage you to gather, be with community, and honor George Floyd's life. Yes, honor the drug-addicted drug dealer counterfeiter who held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. His wasn't the worst. You ready for this one? This was the worst. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry. So sad. So sad. He posted on X, "Today we remember George Floyd, who was murdered by a former Minneapolis police officer 6 years ago. Not true. That is not what the autopsy says. That moment changed our city forever. It forced Minneapolis to confront painful truths about race, policing, and inequality, and trust, and demanded hard conversations and accountability. Since Floyd's murder, our city has been challenged not just to say we've changed, but to prove it. You mean we'll burn down your store or your police station or your whatever if you don't do what we say? We've worked hard to reform police and strengthen our department and rebuild trust with our neighbors, whose stores we let burn to the ground and whose houses we let burn to the ground by a bunch of crazy people. We are committed to honoring George Floyd Square as both a memorial with global significance. Global significance. Maybe we need to do a memorial for every drug dealer in South Seattle, too. Do we need to do that on every street corner? This is insane. Absolutely insane. That's what they're doing on Memorial Day. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Jeff and Kent. Jeff, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Good. What's up, man?
Hey, I was wondering who funded all these homeless to move out of the areas they were in.
So I actually have a public disclosure request that I have filed asking how many bus tickets, ferry tickets, or anything that the city has purchased, because they don't buy those for city employees. They used to have a program where what they would do was, when our homeless problem got so bad, was when they stopped this program. It used to be if you're homeless, it would be you get a free bus ticket if you have somewhere to go out of Seattle. They stopped that back in 2017, I think it was, 2018, and that's when the problem really exploded, you might have noticed. So my question is, if they are telling people to leave or helping people leave?
Well, that's the thing. If the Seattle Police Department's 1,200 cops down, they sure don't have the people to do it.
Nope.
I mean, did FEMA just hand out free tickets and go, hey, scalp these if you leave for a couple of weeks?
Well, actually, we know from Jenny Durkin, we know from Bruce Harrell that the majority of homeless people in our city are not from our city. And in fact, they're probably being sent here by other cities. In fact, over the weekend, and this is when we come back, up next, Spencer Pratt was talking about sending Los Angeles as homeless here in Seattle. So, Jeff, when I get that public disclosure request, you guys will be the first ones to know. Okay, buddy?
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine while we have it. Up next, yes, Spencer Pratt actually said he's going to send LA's homeless up to Seattle because of Katie Wilson and Meta laying off more people. But there's no capital flight. Tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Don't forget, 2 chances to win during the show today. 2 fantabulous prizes. And also, what's this about a pride flag raising ceremony at Seattle Public Schools? But before we get to any of that, Spencer Pratt, Los Angeles candidate for mayor, went viral over the weekend here in Seattle. Why did he go viral over the weekend here in Seattle? Because he talked about possibly having all of LA's homeless get shipped up to Seattle. Instead of shipping up to Boston, it's going to be shipping up to Seattle. Where's young Zach to make me a parody song? We could do that. Here's what he said in an interview with ABC.
What are your plans for the over 40,000 homeless in Los Angeles?
Yeah, they're not homeless. They're drug addicts. Most of these people are addicted to fentanyl and meth. This isn't Spencer making it up.
Are you saying they don't have homes?
There is places for all of these people to sleep in LA. No matter what anybody tells you, we have housing and shelter for everyone that's living on the street.
Now, I love that part right there before we get to the Seattle section. Why? Because the left loses it when you call them drug addicts. They absolutely lose it. So while we're focused on the fact that all these drug addicts might be being shipped up to Seattle, the left is like, you're not compassionate. You want them doing drugs on the street. Well, actually, there's places for all of them. You got the same problem in Los Angeles you have here. Drug addicts are not in the right state of mind and refuse to accept the housing. Or they have the housing and they know they'll get the services for being on the streets. Or they're so fried out of their brain, they don't know what they're doing. Please continue.
They're choosing to be on the street because they want to do drugs. They don't want rules. They don't want to listen. They want to have animals to abuse. This idea that they're forced on the street right now is a lie that our city is perpetuating. We've paid $24 billion to house these 40,000 people. There's spots for all of these people. They are choosing because they're an addict, and you can do fentanyl and super meth on the sidewalk with no repercussions. These places are not as, they have to follow some rules. You can't torture a dog in some of these houses. You can't just attack people. You can't just be naked.
Where are you going to move?
Well,
So he's not wrong. Fact check true. Everything he said. No notes. He's 100% right on all of that. We have the same problems here in Seattle. In fact, here in Seattle, they're telling you how to euthanize your pets if you're on the street. They're telling you how to deal with if your dog accidentally steps on a needle or ingests fentanyl. That's how bad it is. If you can't take care of yourself, why should you be allowed to take care of your kids? If you can't take care of yourself, why should you be allowed to take care of animals? For sure. I see this all the time when I'm driving. Somebody's got a dog sitting there while they're panhandling on the street. What, they want the pity points, and you go, all right, I'm giving money for the dog, not for the dude. I'm giving money for the dog. You should not have custody of that animal. Should not have it. If you can't take care of yourself. Do you know how expensive a dog is? Just this weekend. Holy cow. This weekend I went on one of my, all the kids are out of the house, so maybe I'll get a husky afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, I really want a dog. And my wife goes, no. And I said, why not? And she goes, because I'm not taking care of it. I go, no problem. He'll come to work with me. Sit in the studio with me. He'll just sit there like a good little boy. We'll get him trained. It'll be no problem. She goes, what happens when he has a medical thing? So now you have to go to the doctor as you get older, and the dog has to go to their doctor, and then the dog gets some disease, and then you got to pay thousands of dollars. And Ari, you travel a lot for work. So it's like $500 a night at some of these places to put up the dog. So the dog's getting better class treatment than you're getting wherever you're staying.
Yeah, you really have some sort of like dream idea of how it would be. And,
yes.
Oh, it would be so neat. We have a vet next door.
Yes.
In this very building.
Yes.
Which is the same level with us.
And they don't bring in their pets.
No, they do bring in their pets. They're just the corporate office.
Right.
And the reason I know is because every now and then they'll leave a little guy in the actual office. And I'm like, that poor guy. But they always come back and get him. But worse yet, they decided to put carpet
yes.
in our elevator.
Yes.
And our elevator used to have tile.
Yes.
And I'm guessing a dog. I'm hoping it was a dog, even though I'm hoping any creature wouldn't do this, had some sort of diarrhea problem on the carpet.
Oh, and then you got to come clean it up.
Yeah,
and
so
then you
you're
got to
not
wait for the
bringing-
elevator to come back.
You're not bringing that dog, that imaginary dog, into the studio with you.
All right,
You've already
Mr.
got people spilling coffee in there, and now we want to have a dog in there.
Mr. KVI has nixed my dream of getting a husky. Actually, here's the thing.
Yeah, a husky of all dogs. You know how big huskies are?
Yeah, but it'll shed all over. It'll give some color to everything,
yeah,
right?
that's
It'll be
great.
nice. It'll
That's
brighten this
great.
place up. Look behind me. It's like my wardrobe. It's only in black and a little bit of very, very, very dark gray. We'll put a little white everywhere. Look, this is why I'm glad my in-laws have dogs, so I can borrow their dog, which is a bit of a husky. We'll take that dog out for walks. Yeah, that'll be great. But Spencer Pratt is right. He's 100% right on all of this so
Don't
far.
ever say that again. I cannot. This guy is such a grifter. He is such an attention blank that, I mean,
they burned down his house, dude.
A clock is right. No, they didn't burn his house down. I mean,
there's no water in the
Okay.
hydrants. They burned his house down.
This guy has been seeking attention since he was on MTV, and before that, he wrote a book talking about his life. His main goal is just to make money at all and be popular and be a star.
So the way to be popular and be a star is to criticize Homeless Inc.
No, what I'm saying is he's gotten to such a point because he's older now.
Yeah.
There is no MTV. He can't be a social media influencer because he's too old. So where does the grift go?
Oh,
politics.
Politics.
This guy is a grifter goof. I cannot give him any credit.
I'll tell you what.
A clock is right. How many times a day?
Hang
or
on.
whatever the
We're
darn
gonna, twice a
saying
day.
is?
We're going to settle this on the text line, okay? Do you go with me and go, this guy's just mad they burned down his house and that's why he's running for office? Or do you go with the grifter route on Spencer Pratt? Give us a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Let me ask you this in your audience. Did you know who this guy was before this?
So interesting.
Be honest.
I'm telling you.
Be honest.
Interestingly enough, I asked my wife who he was. And she said, you don't know him? He's the reality star. And I'm like, sweetie, I know you live in the reality world because you watch all those dumb shows and I don't watch any of them. But she started explaining who he was. And I go, wait a minute. Is his wife like Heidi Montag? And she went, yes. And I go, I don't know what Heidi Montag looks like. I don't know who Heidi Montag is. But for some reason, I know that Heidi Montag exists from osmosis of reality land.
Well, I can tell you.
I didn't know who Spencer Pratt was.
When she was first introduced to the public and what she looks like now, you wouldn't recognize her from what she used to look
Wait,
like.
you're
but that's-
telling me somebody in Los
Yeah,
Angeles who's wealthy may have had some work done?
That's here nor there.
Okay.
But this guy, you could follow his career too, because they were known as kind of the bad guys of the show.
Yeah, but wasn't
right?
the whole show rigged? Wasn't that the whole shtick
it's
of
like
that show?
it's like reality TV
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
But they were like the bad guys, and they relished in it. And then when that dried up, they went on like a tour of all these other garbage reality game show nonsense, just trying to be relevant. Then they're selling crystals. He's got these crystals.
I
that
heard about
apparently-
the crystals.
that have like magic properties that will help you.
Hang
It's
on a
like,
second. You're going to love this, Kevin.
enough.
This is the text line, okay? It's kind of split a little bit, okay? It's kind of split. This one here. I love Spencer Pratt for his interviews. I hope he wins. Then there's this one from the 253 that's trying to split the baby between me and Mr. KVI. Spencer Pratt is a grifter whose house got burnt down. So they're putting the two together. You see that one? This one here, Robin Lakewood's mad at Kevin. He goes, did Mr. KVI vote for grifter mayor forehead?
I did not.
See,
I did not.
He did not. But here's the thing. When Spencer Pratt, everything he's saying is lining up with the stuff we agree with. Let's hear the Seattle comment.
Release a 9-minute video so you can.
I think I saw your video,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's very detailed.
But it's going to take time to build the facility
No,
and money.
no,
How fast do you think you can do it?
These people can literally, I went to Washington and I saw miles of the most insane prefabricated housing and building. I asked all the CEOs of these companies, I said, how long does this take? I met with FEMA and HUD, 3 days. 3 days. And all of this is cheaper than trying to take over, kick senior citizens out of their buildings. This is what happens. They kick them out, and then the NGOs come in and they spend 4 years. This is LA. This is LA's timetable.
Where is this facility going to be?
It's on beautiful federal land property.
Where, in LA County?
Well, when I'm mayor, I'll go meet with the federal government and I'll get the property. Right now, I'm just running, so I can't give you the exact address because I don't have the legal responsibility to go represent Los Angeles and say, can I have this land? But when I'm mayor, I promise you, because we have the Olympics coming and everybody in the government wants LA to be the #1 most beautiful city, they will work with me to give me the land I need.
So you're going to move these 40,000 people somewhere, and you're going to have this facility up in, you said, how long?
Here's what you got to realize.
90 days?
Let me explain something. These 40,000 people, 60% of them, City Watch just announced this week, are not from Los Angeles. They're not from California. These people have been bussed in by scam rehabs, scam NGOs, scam homeless nonprofits. These people, when I unplug them and say, we're not taking our tax money anymore, they're all going to Seattle where the mayor will welcome them. These are products to a lot of people. So the people that want to keep doing drugs and live on the sidewalk, a lot of these people are going to leave.
He's right. He's 100% right, because they don't want to be hassled. And they came here because other cities said, well, if Seattle was buying bus tickets to our cities all these years, we're just going to bus them right back to Seattle. Over 60% at the last count are not from this area. So what will happen is if they say, hey, guys, we're going to do the semisonic plan. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. What will happen is a bunch will leave, and they'll go to Oregon, and they'll go to Seattle, and they'll go to these other places. Does that mean Spencer Pratt is sending them to Seattle? No. It means they're going to go where the money is. They're going to go where the resources are. They're going to go where they can grift. Now, if you don't like Spencer Pratt, and you look at this list right here of who's running, so you don't like Spencer Pratt.
This is what I was going to say. The follow-up is like, I understand the garbage that you get to select from
so you've
to
got
vote for.
Karen Bass and Ramadan. I mean, Rama, whatever her name is, the Democratic Socialists of America. And that's why he's rising to the top. But also he's saying the things everybody acknowledges. Did you see his viral advertising this weekend? It was brilliant. Brilliant. I don't know if it was him or somebody else. They went around with stencils and they pressure washed the nastiness of the LA streets that said, imagine if this whole street was clean, vote Spencer Pratt. And they put that down. Brilliant marketing. Brilliant. The guy's very good at that. I guess he must have sold a lot of crystals.
For sure. That's what I'm saying is this guy is really good at being in the spotlight and finding the next thing that he can grift to. But this is my problem is the cult of celebrity in this country now. It drives me insane that here's what your choices are to vote for mayor in a massive city like LA comes down to this nonsense. It's just
well,
sad.
do you know why?
It's
Because
just sad.
There's a couple reasons why. One is we've incentivized the influencer culture in politics.
Of course.
Right? Whose names do we know?
In everything.
Right. The ones with the largest social media following. Why do we know AOC? Why do we know Ted Cruz? Why do we know Marjorie Taylor Greene? Why do we know Matt Gaetz? Why do we know these guys? We know these guys because of their social media presence. We know that because of their media savvy and their media presence. And also, normal people don't want to run for office anymore because they get chewed up and spat out, and they just want to try and fix an issue in their city, and then they get their tax returns released or they get their businesses attacked. When I was running for office, I had people scouting out my businesses, coming to my businesses. It was crazy, crazy stuff. So here's the thing. Does this make you upset about Spencer Pratt? Sending them to Seattle? Saying they'll just go to Seattle? Or is it a reality that Katie Wilson will go, we're going to be the trans refugee location and the homeless refugee location, which we basically are already. We're going to be the sanctuary state for homelessness. That's what it's going to be. This is right here. The text line is blowing up with all this. Basically, they're all saying, Kevin, would you rather have the current mayor, Karen Bass? Nobody would. Nobody wants Karen Bass.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying is like the selection of what you get to choose from anymore in any of this stuff is insane.
Yes, yes. This one here, Dave says, of all the grifters running for LA mayor, at least this guy's calling out the idiot policies that destroyed it. See, that's where we're at here, guys. That is where we are at. Larry here in Gig Harbor says, happy Tuesday, Ari. I wanted to post so bad about Seattle mayor and her bike helmet. Someone needs to tell her it's not a cure, it's prevention. There's no fixing what's going on inside her. That's mean, Larry. Very mean, but funny. but funny. This one here from the 360, Spencer Pratt should fit right in then. Aren't most all politicians grifters? This one here from Robin Lakewood, grift. What experience did President Obama have? Look how that turned out. Yeah, badly. Really, really badly. How's your health care bills these days, right? Look, the problem in Los Angeles is like,
you know what? I'm wrong. Let's let all of these reality stars run everything.
You know what?
Let's just
hang on.
Just submit. Let's just submit to these social media morons and these celebrity reality TV morons. Just let them. Hey, what they're saying sounds really cool. Let them run the entire country.
Let's
that
see
sounds
how it
great.
goes. I think we should see how that works out. I think we should do that. Here's the thing, though, guys. Spencer Pratt is saying all the things that average Los Angelinos are seeing with their own two eyes. He's saying that, which is why he's resonating, and his AI videos are why he's resonating, because they're funny and because they're entertaining. And meanwhile, Karen Bass says, I want to fix meth addicts' teeth. That's the kind of thing she says. She says, oh, well, homelessness has gone down 1%. Woohoo! Even though she claimed she was going to solve it. Now I'm ready to solve it in my next term, so give me the next term. And then Ramadan or ramen or soup or whatever her name is, she's saying, yay, socialism. Those are your choices for mayor. I mean, there's like 57 people running for mayor, but those are the three that are going to make it into the top two. Two of those three are going to make it into the top two. It's going to be one of them. And meanwhile, around here, things are only getting worse. Now we could add in all the homeless on top of it that come from L.A. if he wins. So you heard last week that Meta was laying off 8,000 people company-wide, and we didn't know where those layoffs were going to be. 1,395 of them are in King County. Let me say that again. 1,395 are in King County. So you've got all these tech jobs that are now leaving the area. You've got over 30,000 in layoffs that have been done between all the different tech companies. Now this is getting way, way worse. Meta already scaled back their plans to expand their campus in Bellevue. They're not even in Seattle. They're in Bellevue, and they're saying we don't want to expand here. If you have to do company-wide layoffs, of course you're going to do them here, so that way you don't get hit with the head tax, the high earners tax, capital gains taxes, you name it, all the other taxes. So of course the layoffs are going to be here. It's only going to get worse and worse, and it's not just the tech companies that are being affected. We told you about Delta Camshaft a couple weeks ago in Tacoma. Well, now, Republic National Distributing Company, they're an alcohol distributor, one of the largest in the U.S., is preparing to shut down facilities across the state, which is going to affect hundreds of workers. 267 statewide, to be precise, as they restructure their business. The layoffs include 166 workers in Auburn, 15 in Everett, 28 in Seattle, 30 in Spokane, and another 28 remote employees tied to Washington operations, according to the WARN notice, which is what you have to file every time you're going to lay people off here in Washington. When they say it's just AI, really? Why is Delta Camshaft moving? Not because of AI. Why is Sage and Soak Spas moving? Not because of AI. Why is Starbucks firing a whole bunch of people here, but hiring them in Nashville? Not just AI. What's it going to take? Really, what is it going to take for the Democrats to admit they screwed up royally here? It's only getting worse, and it's not getting better anytime soon. What is it going to take? We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Lee on Whidbey Island. Lee, what's going on?
Yes, I've got the answer to the homeless problem.
Sure, what is it?
Quite simple. The tents that the military uses in the Middle East to house, basically they're tents.
Yeah.
You just get some land, get authorization to put up the tents. Hey, we have all kinds of service members that live there for months. And if they're homeless, you take them there. If they don't want to be taken there, you put them in jail.
So that's kind of what Spencer Pratt is saying without the jail option. But it's basically, here's the thing. You need a triage situation, and they tried to do this in San Diego, but didn't have the guts to follow through with it. So what they did was they created this big FEMA-type structure in part of the city. And they said, you want treatment? Come here. But unfortunately, what happened was there's people who went to the shelter, and then surrounding the shelter, all these RVs, all these drug dealers, I've seen it with my own two eyes, went there. So basically what happens is if you say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, a lot of them are actually going to leave Seattle, leave King County, leave Washington, which we see happening right now in advance of the World Cup. They don't want to be hassled. They're not in the right state of mind, and they just want the free stuff. So your plan has merit. We've talked about it before. But the problem is nobody has the political will to actually do it. It doesn't mean people are going to end up in jail. It means that people are going to leave and go elsewhere like they did beforehand. We didn't just get this problem overnight. We started attracting them. Lee, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, Seattle Public Schools sent me an invitation for a huge event, the Pride flag raising. Did they have anything for Memorial Day? Did they have anything for Independence Day? Did they have anything for any other holiday? Why just this one? Why does this get the special ceremony? We'll analyze it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So my relationship with Seattle Public Schools has gotten infinitely better in the last year since they hired a new superintendent. We decided, hey, let's sit down with him. Let's have a good interview with him. And now I'm actually on their press release. So I got invited to the flag raising and pride party on Tuesday, June 2nd, in front of their headquarters. So they're having a pride flag raising in front of their headquarters. Last month was Jewish American Heritage Month. Did you guys do a flag raising for Jewish Heritage Month? Month before that was Arab and Pan-Asian or whatever it was, Heritage Month. Did we do a flag raising for that? Every month. I mean, the month before that was Chocolate Ice Cream Month or whatever it was. Did we do a thing for chocolate ice cream? Did we have an ice cream truck come to Seattle Public Schools? Why does the pride flag get the special treatment here? I mean, every night, do they play like a Village People song as they lower the flag and then fold it up and then, present it to somebody? Do they have a guy dressed like an Indian, another one like a police officer, another one like a construction guy, and they do that? Is that how? What is this nonsense? What song do you play for the pride flag raising? Do you play it on a trumpet? Is it like the military, or you pull out something else for that, like a kazoo? Who knows? What do you do for this? What song do you think we should play for the pride flag raising for Seattle Public Schools? This is what they are spending their resources on. According to their flyer, join us as we raise the pride flag in front of the JSCEE. Come hear from speakers, including SPS staff and Seattle's own Alexa Manila. I don't know who that is. Now we have to find out who this person is. After the flag raising, I assume she's in charge of the DEI program over there. After the flag raising, we will celebrate the start of Pride Month with a pride party on the 3rd floor. Come get some swag. Play games, win prizes, enjoy the music, have treats, and bask in the prideful spirit that June brings. First of all, if you really want to do this, why are we doing this during school hours? If you want all the kids there, shouldn't we be doing this when it's not school hours, or do you get an excused absence for this? It's during work hours, too. Do you think I should go to the pride flag raising just to get some video? I think, hey, Kevin, it's on the way. It's on the way to work, and I think I just go a little early and hang out I want to know what song they play.
You were invited.
I was invited. I want to know what song they play. I mean, I would make the YMCA joke, but that song's kind of gone to somebody else these days.
Probably if it's current, then it would be like a Lady Gaga would be my guess.
Uh-huh.
Because doesn't she do like a Born This Way song?
Oh,
That's
there
all about,
you
it's like
go.
an anthem.
That's what we're
That's
talking
probably
about.
what's going to happen there.
Or you're going to hear me roar, right? Something like
maybe,
that.
maybe that one too.
I mean, any of these things. Yeah, Born This Way. There you go. We'll get some Lady Gaga action going on there. Wait, here we go, my friends. That's not the only festivity we're having for Seattle Public Schools. Annual Seattle Pride Parade. Wait, what? We're now sending the kids to the nakedness? I don't get that, by the way. Why can't you just have a parade without the nakedness? This weekend, the trans people walking around. Oh, there's a lot of nakedness on the streets. The biggest LGBTQ plus pride event of the season is the annual Seattle Pride Parade. Join the Seattle Schools team as students, staff, families march together with pride alongside our school bus float. Oh, dear. SPS will be located in the staging area on 4th Avenue before the parade begins. Arrive early to make posters, hand out candy, and enjoy the cheering crowd. The parade route runs north along 4th Avenue between Union and Seattle Center, where the celebration continues with a family-friendly festival featuring music, booths, food, and fun. No RSVP needed. Just show up. Okay. Maybe the fact that we're spending all this time focused on the pride insanity is why the grades aren't doing so well. Maybe, just maybe. Look, it'd be one thing also if you did this for every culture and every nationality and everything, and then I really wonder how you get anything done. And I'm not advocating for that. I really just say, how about this? How about we just go back to this? Federal and state flags. That's it. Okay? American flag. You want to hang up some of the other ones, POW, MIA, fine. Some of the other ones we got around here, fine. Washington state flag. That's it. And then you end the flag controversy. We stop with this nonsense. I don't know if my teachers were Democrats or Republicans growing up. I have no idea. To this day, I don't know because it wasn't in the classroom. The first time I got a taste of any of this was in college. Yes, even at my Orthodox Jewish all-boys college, there were liberal professors. And that's when I got my first taste of, why is this teacher trying to indoctrinate me to vote a certain way? And back then I wasn't political. I just said, well, this person's got a slant. What happened to just presenting the facts? Oh, it must be college. And this was what, 20 some odd years ago? Maybe because we spend so much time focusing on this nonsense, it's why the grades are so low, because for everything you replace, you're not doing the thing. So you take out the math, you take out the history, you take out the science, you take out the reading, you take out the writing, and you replace it with a rainbow. And this is what we have here. Up next, my friends, residents in North Seattle are taking matters into their own hands after ongoing violence day after day after day, shooting on top of shooting on top of shooting. We'll talk to one of them when we come back and find out what means they have used to address these problems when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Eve of the World Cup coming to Seattle, the last headlines that Mayor Katie Wilson or anybody else in our area wants is a pimp war in North Seattle. Now, a lot of you may say, Aurora Avenue, Ari, it's been like that for decades. Not like this. On Saturday night, there was a massive shootout. Police found over 40 casings. The videos were obtained by Como News. The videos have since gone viral of this massive shootout. It got so bad that neighbors are now barricading their own streets. That's how bad it is in North Seattle. So no, this is not your dad's Aurora Avenue. Joining us now to discuss discuss one of the neighbors from that area. David Patton, thank you so much for being with us today.
No, thank you.
So I wish it was under better circumstances. Talking before this interview sounds like you and I would get along and probably knock back a few beers or maybe some old fashions together. So why don't we start at the beginning of this? How did this whole start? When did this really start getting bad?
Probably about COVID is when it really got bad in the area. There's always been prostitution here. Everybody, if you lived in Seattle for any length of time, you know that. It seemed to be kind of concentrated around the motels, but since COVID, it has moved out into the streets, and along with it has become, has come the violence, which is the more concerning aspect of this.
Gotcha. So probably for the last 6 years or so, and then it's been growing exponentially as crimes aren't prosecuted and there's less and less police, because during COVID, we lost somewhere between 700 and 800 officers. So now they have to prioritize what things will actually get arrested and prosecuted. And it seems like only murders are really going to do that. So until somebody dies, it seems like they're not likely to enforce this. When you guys started complaining about this, as it really blew up recently, it started getting the mayor's attention and the media's attention and the city hall's attention. What were you told by city officials?
Nothing. Actually, it's pretty simple. Nothing. We've been. I'm part of a larger, neighborhood group. We talk. We're neighbors. We talk, and we have been trying to get action from the city for a number of years. We have talked to the police. We have tried to talk to the city. We have done everything that they have asked of us. Call 911. Keep records of shots fired. Record things. There's the site Is John a John that has 19,000 unique license plates from Johns across the city and has raised $20,000 from said Johns that we then donate, or sorry, not we, I'm not part of that site, but then is then donated to women's charities across Seattle. The city never answered. Maybe informally to some people in the group that had a personal relationship, they might. What kind of teed it off was last week or 2 weeks ago when there was the drive-by and the bullet almost hit the baby, the 5-week-old baby. That did it for me. So I grew up in Los Angeles in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I am no stranger to the sound of gunfire in the city nightly, and it was bad then. Since then, served in Gulf War I, served in Gulf War II, very familiar with gunfire and explosions. There are nights here that there is more gunfire going on in Aurora than I heard in Iraq when I was over there. Never did I think I was going to live in a city where it was like that.
That's
and
crazy.
The city has refused to do anything, which prompted me to write those letters last week.
That's absolutely crazy. More gunfire here than in Iraq. That's your headline right there on an article like this. So the neighbors started barricading their own streets with big planters and other things you found around. Did the city come out to cite you guys for those or anything, or did that finally get their attention?
I can't say I was part of that.
Of course not. Yeah, of course.
But the city did, SDOT, kind of had a conniption fit a little bit about it, as you can imagine. But from what I understand, it was following the city's plan. The streets where the barricades were established was following the city's plan to block off 97th, 98th, 102nd. So since the city obviously couldn't find the money to do that, the good citizens of Seattle decided to help the city implement the plan that they had anyways.
Excellent. Okay. So now here we are. Neighbors have taken matters into their own hands. I mean, it's only a matter of time, if it hasn't happened already, where neighbors are going to be out there patrolling the streets with AR-15s or their own firearms to try and deal with this. That's the last thing anybody wants, because somebody's going to get shot. Either a neighbor's going to get shot by these lunatic gang members. I remember a while ago, the city's solution to this was, let's write letters to the Johns who we think are visiting prostitutes, and that might actually solve things. Well, it appears that hasn't actually worked. So what do you guys want the city to do? I mean, the obvious thing is enforce the law, but are you seeing more patrol cars in your neighborhood? Are you seeing an uptick in police being around?
It's only been, not even 48 hours since someone put those barricades up. But what I could tell you is that the group, I don't think there were any reports of shots fired on Aurora last night. And at least they didn't wake up anybody in the group. And I had to drop someone off at the airport today. And when I was driving back from 85th to 109th, I did not see a single prostitute on the street. Granted, it might, it was like noon on a Sunday. So maybe they were all in church. I don't know. I don't know. The overwhelming response from the people in the neighborhood has been overwhelmingly positive. Granted, there are a few curmudgeons, there are a few people who complained about how inconvenient it was for them, that they had to go around and couldn't, turn directly off Aurora onto one of the streets. Our response has been, I'm sorry, but the bullets are, a little more inconvenient than, you having to go an extra block on your commute. Some people we've understood have tried to take down the barriers, and neighbors, completely independent, went out, put them right back up.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. It sounds like the kind of thing you're seeing in Georgetown and South Seattle and other areas, up in North Seattle too, where people will drop these magic concrete barriers appear out of nowhere. Nobody knows where they come from to deal with the homeless situation, to deal with the RVs. It sounds like this is just another example of city leadership failing and citizens taking matters into their own hands. So somebody asked you, Dave, and somebody said, hey, is Seattle ready for the World Cup? What would you say?
Honestly, I didn't even know the World Cup was. I'm not a soccer fan, man, but to me, that's the other football. I'm a diehard Seahawks fan.
Sure.
But with that is going to come money. With that money is going to be an uptick in prostitution. With that uptick in prostitution, there will be an uptick in violence. You don't have to be a quantum physicist to figure this out. It's just going to happen. So are we ready? I don't know. We're 1,500 officers short. That is a quote from ex-Chief Diaz, who told us that, which blew my mind, quite frankly. He said in the watch that I live in, they would normally have, I think it was 4 cars with 8 officers. They have 1 car with 1 officer able to patrol. Now, God bless SPD. We've talked to a lot of them, and they are as frustrated, if not more frustrated than we are. But their hands are tied. The city is not giving them the resources that they need. We've heard from one person at the mayor's office. The person who I would love to lay this at the feet of is Deborah Juarez. This is her district. She has been absent, MIA. We have never heard from her. I got one response from somebody in her office, and basically they emailed me the press release that they put out the other day. I said, thank you, but I don't need you to email me a press release. I'm perfectly capable of finding it online myself.
We're a little too familiar with Deborah Juarez's office, so I think it's about time. We haven't spoken to her in about 4 or 5 years. I think it's about time we reach out to her. Yeah, I think it's about time that we reach out to her from the show here and remind her that the good people of North Seattle have some real issues with what's going on up there. Dave Patton, please keep us informed of this. I'm really sorry for what you're going through. And this is what I caution people about all the time, is that while all the focus is going on that few block radius around the stadiums, the rest of Seattle is experiencing everything that's being pushed out of that radius, and it's getting infinitely worse. And with all the law enforcement attention down on the stadiums during the World Cup, the rest of Seattle is getting ignored. Dave Patton, thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe. And please keep us updated of any developments.
Thanks, Ari. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate your time. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. This weekend, Kevin and I both had the opportunity to go see The Mandalorian and Grogu, the latest entry in the Star Wars franchise, which is out playing in theaters right now. And trying to get people to go see this with me was difficult. And I think that's one of the reasons it's not doing as well at the box office as a Star Wars movie usually does. One of the problems is most people have now said, I'll just wait for Disney Plus. Why go see it in theaters? The second thing was it's Disney Star Wars, not real Star Wars. And when you come back with, well, it's The Mandalorian, and the first season and second season were really good. In fact, the finale of the second season is probably the best Star Wars since Return of the Jedi, I would argue. They say, yeah, but we can watch it on Disney Plus, and we don't have to lay out the money to go to the movie theaters. I went to see the movie. I thought it was good. I took a military buddy of mine, and I took one of our listeners. Matt Gilbert came along. He actually volunteered. He said, hey, if nobody wants to go see this movie with you, I'll go see this movie with you. Went out to Factoria. Place was packed. Place was buzzing. But a lot of people said, I'm just going to go see this thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think it's the problem, too, is that it's based on a TV show, right? So a streaming show. I shouldn't say television show.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think there's always been kind of a barrier when you start off as a TV product and then you're doing a premiere theatrical version of it. You're the people that have got used to it watching it on streaming or whatever, you think like, I got to go pay for this thing in the theater. And is it going to be that much better than what's going on for the streaming service at all? Like, what are we doing here?
Like, let's look at HBO for a second. HBO had Sex and the City and they had Entourage. Sex and the City, they managed to get a few movies out of that. Now,
which blows my mind.
I don't know how, but they managed to do it. Entourage, one and done. That was it.
Right.
That was the end of the show, and it didn't do that well in theaters, the Entourage movie, and it wasn't that great. I mean, it had its moments, like Ronda Rousey beating the crap out of Turtle. That was fun.
Right.
But this, they tried to have an on-ramp for people who didn't watch The Mandalorian. It's clear they tried to have it.
Yeah, and that's the dangers of doing something like this too, right? Because if you want to make a lot of money off of it, you've got to make it accessible for people who do not watch the show and won't be lost if they decide to go see this in the theater.
Right. Now, I will say this. The movie's fine. It could have been a new season of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. I told my kids. My boys didn't see it last night, so I messaged them when I got home on WhatsApp, and I said, hey, guys, just wait for Disney Plus. There's nothing in this earth-shattering. There's very little stakes because this isn't even like the whole galaxy hinges on it because The Mandalorian, the galaxy never hinges on The Mandalorian. It's just like a side story, which is fun.
He's always going off doing an adventure.
Yes.
And this is no different. It's like you said, it's almost... I think we agreed that it's almost like a fourth season that's just been truncated.
Yeah, but it's not even that truncated because in the middle there's a scene, which I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but there's a scene that takes way too long, which would have been an entire episode of the show.
Yeah, I say truncated in essence because, you know, how long is the season for that show? I can't remember. Was it
About
8
10 episodes?
8 to 10,
episodes.
yeah. And so this is like 3 episodes that are kind of stitched together.
Yes. Now, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's just
fine.
as good as any other. It's better than the last Mandalorian season.
I think so. Yeah.
And there's a lot of Easter eggs you can catch, which I'm not going to give away. There's a lot of that stuff. And somehow they make things we hated in other movies likable in this movie, which The Mandalorian was very good at. But why is Sigourney Weaver in this movie?
I don't know.
I mean,
because she's Sigourney Weaver.
Well, I know, but there's no point to her being in this movie. And her as an X-Wing pilot? No.
Whoa.
No.
I almost laughed out loud when when it like cuts to her all dressed up in the cockpit. I'm like, whoa, what is happening
and
right
it's
now?
not because she's a girl. Look, in Star Wars, it's the young hotshot pilots. You might call this ageism. It doesn't matter if they're guys or gals or whoever. They're just young hotshot pilots.
Or aliens of some sort.
Right. Then here comes Sigourney Weaver because we needed the Sigourney Weaver star power for this movie. No, she's the one who should be sitting there with Mon Mothma and Princess Leia having the map in front of them tracking the battle. That should be her job, not flying an X-Wing. In fact, all the pilots were old pilots in this. And I go, what is this, the end of that last actual Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker, where all the old codgers show up to save the galaxy?
Right.
We're not even up to that yet. So That made no sense. Aside from that, it's fine. Baby Yoda's adorable. Special effects are special effects. It's a CGI fest. Do not expect a real movie. It's a video game.
It is. It's funny to me how, remember when these sequels first came out, like The Force Awakens, and then even with Jon Favreau when he was doing The Mandalorian, it was just all this, we're doing practical effects.
Yeah.
And we've got all these creature outfits, and it's dirty and gritty, just like the original Star Wars was. And
Not no more.
Not no more. You get to this, and it's like, you're right. At some point, you're just like, am I watching a video game?
Yes, that's what it became. Now I'll say, you want to go see it in theaters? Save your money. Just wait for Disney Plus. It's fine.
And I'm a goofball who likes to go see it in 3D, which I did.
Yes.
And it was fine.
That's the thing.
Again, it was like, and at some point I realized, because I can't even, I'm a movie nerd, but I can't keep these formats straight anymore. There's IMAX, there's digital IMAX, there's IMAX 3D, there's
Laser.
XL large screen, there's laser.
What's laser?
The thing I saw was Real D 3D laser.
That's what, no. I saw laser, no real, Real D laser, no 3D. It was something like that, yeah.
And at some point I did realize that it was opening up, so like you'd get a bigger picture for a second, and then it would scrunch down again and then open up for some of the action scenes. And I was like, this isn't even IMAX. Why are they doing this?
Yeah,
What? I don't get it.
So goofy. I mean, yeah, like I said, watch it on Disney Plus. Before I forget, my friends, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Head on over to KVI.com. Enter to win on the website for a chance to win tickets to an advanced screening of Disclosure Day on June 8th. Head on over there right now, KVI.com, for your chance to win. When we come back, my friends, Seattle, is it a hellscape or is it actually really, really nice? Or can two things be true at the same time? Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, 2 chances to win fantabulous prizes through our website, KVI.com. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I saw this news report on Thursday before I went away for the holiday weekend. And I saw that the IMAX Theater, the Boeing IMAX Theater, which is at Seattle Center, we discussed this a little bit on the show the other day, will not be showing feature films for the foreseeable future. They're not going to be showing the films. They're just going to be showing the science stuff you see, like space shuttles or volcano explosions. They have the other.
Are you sure about that, by the way?
Yes.
I don't think that they've announced what they're going to show in there. That's
said
the other problem.
So they said science stuff, which they had a nicer way of saying it, but it was the science stuff. You have the other IMAX Theater, which we discussed the other day, where there's multiple buildings at Seattle Center. The Boeing IMAX Theater is the one where you go into the giant ball-looking thing. And then you have the other one, which is up where they used to show the volcano movies and everything else, but more and more they've been showing the IMAX movies there.
Yeah, because that's the quote-unquote lesser theater. It's not quite a true Boeing, or not a true IMAX. The other one is true. It's like the biggest IMAX theater on the West Coast, or one of them.
Exactly.
Which is crazy to me that someone's going to buy that and then not use it what it's intended for, but whatever.
Whatever. So the Space Needle bought the Boeing IMAX Theater. They're the ones who bought this sucker. And now the question is what they do with it. Now, I said a while ago at the opening segment when we were talking about old Seattle versus new Seattle, I said the Seattle Center really hasn't had anything done to it since the 1960s. Okay, they redid parts of the Armory. Okay, they redid Climate Pledge Arena, but the Science Center's barely been touched. You look around at the place, maybe they got rid of some more pavilions. Maybe for the anniversary of Seattle Center, they got some new plaques and did a short-term museum about the World's Fair, but that's really it. That's really, really it. For the most part, it sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there, rotting away. You look at New York. New York in Flushing Meadows. What do you think about Flushing, New York? I think it's a great idea. In Flushing, New York, you have those things from Men in Black. You know, in the first Men in Black movie, where the alien says, take me to these things, and there's these 2 saucer-type things, that's left over from the World's Fair. And then they crash through the giant globe, that's left over from the World's Fair. They are now, in the year of our... in our year of 2026, they are finally redoing these things. The World's Fair was in the 1960s there also. But those things have sat there, abandoned for decades, rotting away for decades. Seattle Center's been treated a little bit nicer because you got the Space Needle there, and they do updates to the Space Needle, and they do some touristy stuff, and you have some festivals there. But for the most part, they haven't done anything, and now Seattle wants to spend $1.5 billion renovating Seattle Center when they have a budget crisis. Oh, no, wait. It's $1.7 billion. No, wait, $2 billion. No, wait, they don't have a price tag on this? They say we don't know what it would cost. Rather than going to private donors, like, hey, Boeing, you guys did this IMAX theater. How about we do a little bit more and make it the Boeing Pavilion or whatever it is? Or let's go to Starbucks. Oh, when you chase away companies, you don't have them as investors anymore. And these things sit there. But also technologies change, interest changes. I have a book on the World's Fair at Seattle Center. Do you know in Memorial Stadium, they actually had boats and water skiing for a few demonstrations? And I think to myself, oh my God, it's just like that Gladiator 2 movie where they brought the water into the Coliseum and they have the ship battle. But they did things like that, and now they're redoing Memorial Stadium. So these things sit there and sit there. Is it any different with the World Cup? They redid the Seattle waterfront. And I went down there this weekend, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was everything a world-class city should be. No homeless people anywhere, tons of tourists, tons of attractions. You could be a tourist in your very own city. And I think of that line from The Fugitive. In The Fugitive, when they're chasing Richard Kimball through Chicago, through the St. Patty's Day parade, and one of them says, if they can dye the river, the Chicago River, green one day a year, can't they dye it blue all the other days of the year? If you can keep the city clean for the World Cup, why can't you do it the rest of the year? Because there's no political will to do it the rest of the year. And though you might have a shiny new waterfront, everything else is falling apart. Now, mind you, movies, movie theaters, they're going the way of the dodo. Very slowly, very surely, it's happening. For example, Cinerama. Cinerama was built in the 1960s. It's been there a long time. People like them for the fun movies, but as soon as you're selling it to the Seattle International Film Festival and then they're asking you for $1 million grant, you know you're in trouble. And then guess what? The Seattle International Film Festival had a ton of layoffs this year, and they're in financial trouble. So how much longer is a Cinerama going to be around for? The Boeing IMAX Theater was built in 1999 in Seattle Center. Had a good run, but how many IMAX theaters are actually left? How many people are going to see IMAX movies? And you weren't open for the Star Wars release? You guys couldn't just say, okay, after Star Wars, we're going to redo this, or after Spider-Man, or after the summer movie season of 2026, which is, Kevin, check me on this. You got a Star Wars, a Marvel movie, a Supergirl movie. That's just off the top of my head. Is there anything else big coming out?
You got that Spielberg one that we're giving free tickets away.
The Spielberg one, which we're giving free tickets away on the website. Good point. We are giving away a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Disclosure Day over at KVI.com. It's going to be at AMC South Center on June 8th. You can only enter to win at KVI.com. You've also got a He-Man movie coming out.
Yeah.
And is that like the
you
big
got a
stuff?
Toy Story 5
Toy Story 5
Yeah.
is coming out, which people like that. And we're just not showing movies for the movie season now at the Pacific Science Center. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So you can build all the stuff you want down at the waterfront, but Seattle's not doing well. Today we find out that those Meta layoffs, over 1,300 of them are going to be here in King County, here in our area. Businesses are leaving. And it's great that all these tourists are coming, but you're not getting as much of that tourist money as you could be. For example, I took the free shuttle from Seattle Center down to the waterfront just as a social experiment and because I want to save money on parking. It's free. I would have paid the $1.50 for it. I would have paid the $2 for it. I would have done it. It was free. It was convenient. It was clean. By the way, something else about these shuttles, there's 2 people on each of these shuttles. One's the driver and one's a spotter or something wearing a nice neon vest. And I said to the individual when I got off the shuttle, I was very polite. I said, "Excuse me, are you here to keep the riffraff away? Like, what's your job on the shuttle?" Oh, it's a training shuttle. I said, "Oh, a training shuttle." I said, "Funny, because the one I took down here in the first place also had a guy on it. Were they doing training too?" Yeah, we're doing training." I said, "Well, I assume these people are all certified King County Metro drivers. What are you training?" "We're training the route." Mm-hmm. Sure. It's to keep the riffraff away. So you can keep the riffraff away for the tourists, but you can't do it for the people whose tax dollars are paying for all this. You know as well as I do what's going to happen. That waterfront, you could eat off the floor. It is so clean. You can eat off the sidewalk. It was magnificent. Really, they did a great job. Really, really did. Wasted tons of money, but they did a great job down there. You know what's going to happen as soon as the World Cup is over. As soon as the cruise season, the World Cup is over, you're going to have the street people start working their way back, and soon that big climbing thing for the kids, there's going to be a tent there, and there's going to be some needles there, and there's going to be feces on the ground. We already had a couple shootings there before the summer season started. How much worse does this need to get? How much worse does it need to get? So now we're losing another 1,300 tech jobs. We've lost over 30,000 tech jobs just since the beginning of the year. We've lost Starbucks to Nashville. We're now losing a liquor distribution company again and again and again and again. We have all these people leaving. And soon you run out of all these rich people's money that are leaving our area. But if you ask the Democrats, no, they're not leaving. Interesting, because Como News did a report on whether or not the wealthy are actually leaving our area. Listen to what they had to say.
Will people start leaving Washington state? That's a big concern of opponents to the newly enacted tax on incomes more than $1 million. Our state is not the first to enact something like this. Como's Natalie Fahmy looks at the data of one state that has had a high earners tax for years now.
Assuming it withstands all challenges, come 2028, Washington will officially impose a 9.9% state income tax on anyone or household earning more than $1 million annually. Opponents call the tax unnecessary.
It's also just going to harm our state.
Ryan Frost is the director of budget and tax policy at the Washington Policy Center. He looks to other states as an example.
Massachusetts' millionaire tax has been an abject failure.
Unlike Washington, Massachusetts already had a flat state income tax before lawmakers asked voters to approve an additional 4% for people making more than $1 million each year. Massachusetts State Senator Jason Lewis grafted his state's surtax on millionaires.
I would say it's been it's exceeded expectations.
In fiscal year 2024, Massachusetts earned $2.4 billion from the additional tax. And in 2025, $3 billion. Both years saw more money than predicted by millions. But data from the IRS paints a less than rosy picture. In June 2021, the legislature passed the act, guaranteeing its placement on the November 2022 ballot. Between 2021 and 2022, the number of tax filings from millionaires in Massachusetts dropped by about 5,000 people.
I don't see how Washington's going to be any different.
Do you think that people are moving out of your state as a result of this tax?
There's no evidence of that.
There is currently no IRS filing data beyond 2022. Either way, Lewis attributes people moving more so to them relocating for reasons like retirement or job opportunities. Boston-based CPA who works with high earners, Jim Guarino, tells me it could also mean those millionaires became more strategic to avoid the tax, as some may do in Washington.
This is one of those unique circumstances where you may want to consider accelerating income because of that 9.9% train that's coming down the tracks.
Has it been more common that clients prefer to be strategic or just completely move?
That's a good question. I think people have really they've settled down to the fact that it's just another cost of a particular transaction.
Several other states like New York and Maine also have a targeted surtax on its highest earners or have recently passed one. And now California is considering taking it up a notch with a billionaire's tax. Natalie Fahmy, Como News.
So I did a little research after seeing this report from Como News. Massachusetts is losing their high earners. The Washington Policy Center expert had it 100% right. Then there's that other dude they bring on for the other side at the end. Well, it seems like they've adjusted. No, they haven't. People are fleeing California, New York, Maine, Washington. What do all of them have in common, my friends? That high earners tax. And when they don't make the amount of money they need from the high earners tax, they go after everybody else. And most people know this income tax is going after everybody else. So, daily reminder, head on over to letsgowashington.com. And if you want to help repeal the income tax, you go to letsgowashington.com. They will send you the initiative form in the mail. You just sign it and send it back. You want a few more to hand out to your friends? Send back the one for your family so they have those, and then go collect them from your friends in case you forget to do it. But send those signatures back. Go to letsgowashington.com and do it. What's the end game here? We had a caller on Thursday. Said, do you think the end game is to make everything around here so bad so the government can buy everything up? And I thought about that, and I thought, wow, that's really the plot of RoboCop. But today, Zoran Mamdani gave away the game. He said the quiet part out loud. What's the actual goal here? Give a listen.
When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards.
Oh, seizure of property by the government. Oh. So what does that mean, neglect? What does that mean? Look, I'm a property manager. I'm a landlord. I've had annoying tenants before. I've had tenants to be like, the doorknob is broken. I'll be like, that's your responsibility to fix according to the lease. No, you have to fix it. I'm not paying rent until you fix this doorknob. Go over there with a screwdriver. 1, 2, 3. Fixed. Done. Pay your rent now. I don't like the color of the floors. I go, great. You want to change them? We can talk about it, but I'm not paying for that. I mean, what are they going to define as a negligent landlord? Light bulbs out, negligent landlord. Light bulbs out, toilet backed up, negligent landlord. Appliance broke, negligent landlord. What are they going to define as a negligent landlord? Property seizure, asset seizure. Now, here in Washington, because we do everything stupidly, we buy everything. That's what happens around here. So here in Washington, what do we have in Seattle? Oh, that's a hotel. We could put homeless people in it. Let's buy it for triple its value. Oh, that's a building that somebody's putting up there. Let's buy it for triple its value and house the homeless in it. Or maybe we just realize that's too expensive. We've been blowing too much money on it, and we just start seizing everything. That's what it sounds like to me. Literally sounds like parts of Atlas Shrugged going on right there. Oh, a communist is coming in and seizing assets? That's what that sounds like to me. I don't think I'm far off on this one. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's exactly what they're planning to do. Because then if you're relying on the government for your housing, what else are you going to be reliant on the government for? El Darthbo says, welcome to the Soviet Socialist States of America. Exactly. 12th Man for Life says, sign those initiatives, baby. Got 120 for voter ID and 137 for no income tax this weekend out in Seebeck. Good on you, 12th Man for Life. Really great. El Darthbo also wanted me to remind everybody that for every one of those jobs that leaves town, that's 5 jobs that are dependent on that one job because everybody has a grocer. Everybody has a barber. Everybody has a mechanic. Everybody has somebody who does something else that they buy services from. So when those jobs leave town, that means 5 other people are affected by it. They're not making as much money. I wonder if this is the goal, for the government to own everything. Because that's what it seems like to me. I think the actual goal is just to get us purely to socialism, where the government runs everything. And if they can't buy it, they will take it. You think I'm close to it, or you think I'm a little too conspiratorial? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And speaking of making neighborhoods so bad that people leave, one neighborhood in North Seattle, dealing with gunshots on an almost nightly basis, almost killed a baby the other night. We'll tell you how residents are taking matters into their own hands. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, we are giving away count them, 2 tickets to the Roy Rodeo this weekend, June 6th and June 7th. Mr. KVI himself and young Zach will be out there on the 6th. I will be out there on the 7th. So you can come see us at the Roy Rodeo, a staple in a small rural community, hosting NPRA writers as well as different additional acts twice each year during the summer months. Roy Pioneer Rodeo events include NPRA riders for bareback broncs, saddle broncs, bulls, wild cow milking, barrel races, team roping, tie-down roping, and steer wrestling.
That stuff just rolls off your tongue.
Just right away. For
so
a city
naturally.
boy like me, just comes right off it.
So naturally. It sounds like you live in that world.
I do. Well, you'll be able to tell by my cowboy boots and my hat this weekend how much I live in that world, or that I have the correct accessories.
You're going to be doing
at
some
home.
cosplay. That's cool.
I like the cosplay. I like having an occasion to wear my boots. They are my most comfortable shoes, but I don't wear them often enough. So I will be wearing them this weekend. You can come make fun of me and my poser status, but you can come check that out at the Roy Rodeo this weekend. But now you can win 2 tickets to the Roy Rodeo. All you have to do is enter the word I give you, text it on over to the number I give you. Do not text your name, do not text your address, do not text your phone number. Just like Liam Neeson, if you are a winner, we will find you and we will reward you. Today's word is ride, R-I-D-E. Text the word ride to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. How bad are things in Seattle? Do you know the Bubble Man? Do you know the Seattle Bubble Man? You might have seen him around before. He goes to parks a lot. He goes to community events. The Bubble Man. You don't know the Bubble Man? The Bubble Man. Okay. Anyway, he makes giant bubbles out of things with soap and water, and he has these shapes, and he will put a kid in a bubble. I have seen him do it at my synagogue before. Very cool.
I've missed this guy.
Oh, this guy's great. No, he's really great. His name is Gary Golightly, which I'm not sure if that's his given name, but we call him the Bubble Man. Okay? He's the Bubble Man. He's been doing this for 45 years. Okay? The Bubble Man's stuff has been stolen. I kid you not. If you know the Bubble Man, he's usually over at Carkeek Park. That's where he usually hangs out over there. Okay. Anyway, you can hire him for events. He'll do like community events and things like that. We had him at the synagogue. He says his Honda Odyssey was stolen earlier this year outside the QFC on Holman Road in Seattle. Police eventually recovered the vehicle, but the thieves had already stripped it of nearly everything inside. Gone were decades of handmade bubble equipment, custom props, tools, and one-of-a-kind creations he spent years building by hand. Among the stolen items were 5 elaborate chandeliers woven from recycled 6-pack rings, specialty bubble tools, and irreplaceable performance pieces collected and crafted over nearly half a century. And now he's paying the price for Seattle's ongoing property crime crisis. Now, if you know the Bubble Man, you just put in Bubble Man over at GoFundMe, and you can help out the Bubble Man, because apparently he's got medical issues as well, so this could not have come at a worse time. He said to King 5, I'm not going to let this get the best of me. This is what I was put on the planet for. He can still be found out at the park testing out rebuilt bubble wands and greeting families who stop by. He says he's rebuilding his stuff with cheap toys he finds in thrift stores. But if you want to help out the Bubble Man, who is a victim of Seattle's crime, head on over to GoFundMe. He's got a GoFundMe going on over there. When even the Bubble Man is getting burgled and getting his car stolen, that's how you know how bad things are here in Seattle. And plus, are we going to find these things in one of these homeless chop shops? You know, with the Lime bikes and the Lime scooters, you're going to be like, what the hell is this thing? Oh, that was the Bubble Man's. Do you have a need? Here, somebody's going to try and sell it to you at 12th and Jackson. They're going to have alcohol and condoms and all the other stuff they've stolen. They'll have it all out there on the street. And then you're going to have this weird contraption. What's that for? I don't know. What? It's the Bubble Man's equipment. That's where it is. Things around here are so bad. You've got a whole bunch of beaches that are now dealing with poo in the water. That was great heading into Memorial Day weekend, by the way, that now you've got fecal matter. Where do you think that's coming from? Do you think it's processing plants overflowing? Do you think maybe it's our unsheltered neighbors nearby? This is like when the salmon were getting high. Do you remember when they were talking about the drug content of the salmon? Oh, that's why our sushi's so good around here. Them fish are on drugs. Excellent. We joke about things like this, but it's really, really bad when neighbors are blocking off their own streets because of the violence in North Seattle. So over the weekend, you had this story where there was a massive shootout between warring pimps and drug dealers in North Seattle, where there's video. Como News has the video of this. I saw it over the weekend. It's people hiding behind cars. It looks like somebody filmed a new action movie on a camcorder. That's what it looks like, but that's what you're watching. Police recovered over 40 shells on the street. 12 seconds of pop, 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 pop. That's a long time, by the way. That's a really long time. This was 4 a.m. Saturday near the Burgermaster at North 101st Street and Aurora Avenue North. This is what they found. Kevin, you know exactly where I'm talking about. How nice is that neighborhood?
Right there by Oak Tree.
By Oak Tree
Cinemas there, yeah.
So do you go to the movies there very often?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I have. There used to be a Chinese food restaurant in that strip mall within Oak Tree that was called the Mandarin Gate.
Yeah.
And in my 20s, I had some good times there. They did karaoke 7 days a week.
That's awesome.
So, but it's no longer there. Rough area.
Yeah.
Real rough area.
Yeah. And so now it's getting worse and it's bleeding out into the surrounding neighborhoods. So what happened was, I'm not going to blame anybody, but these boxes, these barriers, these barricades spontaneously appeared. And actually, if you want to hear one of the residents tell us how this happened, you can go to kvi.com and catch my interview, which we ran earlier in the show today. It's up there already. You can check it out. Also, while you're there, you can enter to win our 2 fantabulous contests that are there already. To win tickets to see an advanced screening of Disclosure Day, you can do that on over there. So make sure to head on over there and do that. So the residents are now putting these things, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. If you've noticed around Seattle, they have this idea for Vision Zero, where there's going to be no traffic deaths at all, none whatsoever. So they're going to close certain streets, and they're going to do road diets on other streets. So the city actually designated this block that got closed as one of the blocks they were going to be closing. Now they're mad that the residents did it themselves to keep out the drug dealers and the pimps and everybody else. So it's okay for the city to do it, but not okay for these residents to do it to protect themselves. Let's just make sure I got that right. Now, this is something they've been doing, which actually traffic deaths have gone up because with all these road diets and all these bike lanes and bus lanes, what happens is people go to the side streets to avoid the main arterial lines because they said, you know what, it's too crazy here. It takes too long. I'm going to zip over here where there's no traffic, and then some kid comes out with a ball, God forbid. Or you get in an accident over there because somebody else is coming from an uncontrolled stop intersection over there. And this is why traffic deaths are going up in our city. Up and up and up and up and up. This is what's happening. Over the weekend, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson celebrated the closure of Lake Washington Boulevard, where no traffic studies were done on how this is going to affect businesses, how this is going to affect any traffic whatsoever. They're going to close it 3 days a week through the entire summer. They're going to close Lake Washington Boulevard, which became a major arterial after they turned Rainier Avenue into a 1-lane, and they've put speed bumps everywhere. They've done this to make your commute worse. Well, a bunch of residents showed up to protest because they had enough of this nonsense. Katie Wilson shows up in a full pantsuit to ride a bike. You're not fooling anybody, lady, especially when you put the helmet on the back of your head. I know you have a massive forehead, but it's supposed to cover the top of your head, the full thing, and you're supposed to buckle it on the bottom. It looks like Katie Wilson has never ridden a bike before in her life.
Maybe she just lives dangerously.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I would have
maybe
more...
it's like that PSA we used to run to where the bike helmet is a fake.
There you go. I would have more respect for her if she wasn't wearing a bike helmet than the way she's got this thing on right now. Tell me you posed for the stage picture. That's really what it looks like. I mean, look, the other option of what this could be is infinitely worse. I mean, she's not very good on that bike. I know other people who are much better on the bike than her. Is she wicked or just incompetent? I don't know if that's... Incompetent, is that really wicked or just her ideas are wicked because she's a socialist? We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Gerald in Federal Way. Gerald, what's going on?
Yeah, I got a solution for 2 of the things you talked about today. So anyway, don't sell tiny homes short. You get the homeless druggie in there, you lock the door, forklift them onto a semi, just like you do with pods, next stop, California, problem solved.
So you're saying the police academy approach, like when they put the commandant inside the porta potty and then lifted it with the crane and put him somewhere else. That's what you're saying, right?
If it works, it works. And when it comes to Iran, when it comes to Iran, call Vegas and check the odds that they're going to make a deal. When there's money involved, you can believe people have seriously studied the problem, and that's the solution you go with.
Oh, just like the polling. I see what you're saying. Yes. Go to Polymarket or whatever it is, right? Place a bet on and see which way the odds are going. So do you think they're going to make a deal or not? Gerald, these are very common sense approaches. I like both of them.
Well, it's a fault.
Gerald, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Gino says, Ari, where are the petitions? At letsgowashington.com. If you haven't gotten them in the mail yet, they are on the way. They are on the way. Brian, drop me an email because I see, or excuse me, Gino. Send me, he's asking Brian Haywood for help. Gino, send me an email. I'll forward it on to Let's Go Washington, and then I can get you in touch with them directly and figure out where this is going on, okay? This one here. Hey, Hoffather, you are spot on. I have so often thought Washington would be the first socialist communist state. Seizure of our freedoms and property will surely follow. Bless you and yours, Ari. Very kind of you to say. John in Lakewood says, Ari, you're spot on. This is what's going to happen. The government is going to just claim neglect is neglect. Seattle's goal is property seizure. Exactly. This is what I think is going to happen. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. As you're paying all those taxes to the government, how much of it is going to fraud? Well, Luke Rosiak from the Daily Wire is going to be joining us to discuss how he uncovered all the fraud that's now being investigated by the VP and how you could do it as well. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Well, fraud is all anybody can talk about in the U.S. these days because we didn't realize how rampant it was. It seems like every day there's another story about how bad the fraud is somewhere. And you may have heard that J.D. Vance is actually taking the task force and going after Ohio for the rampant fraud found there. Now, interestingly enough, it was a friend of ours who exposed all this. Joining us now, investigative reporter for the Daily Wire, Luke Rosiak. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, Ari, great to be with you.
So, Luke, where'd you get this information from that you started investigating to unveil all this fraud that was rampant in Ohio?
Well, back in February, DOGE and the Department of Health and Human Services released a database showing where Medicaid dollars are spent. And this was previously a total black box. It's like 15% of the federal budget, and we just had no idea to which companies it was being paid. And once I had that data, you just start looking up the companies, and they're owned by the sketchiest people you can imagine, criminal records, tax liens, they're working other full-time jobs. And these are the people in the home health care sector that are being sent into the homes of little old ladies unattended and then billing the government by the hour for doing things like cleaning and cooking. And so home health care is like super vulnerable to fraud. It's one of these programs that was originally like, if you were so sick that you should be in a nursing home, we could send somebody to cook for you. But what happened is in certain communities, everybody started pretending to be sick, and it turned into this basically universal basic income, except not universal. It only went to people who are willing to pull a scheme. And people can make like $100,000 a year to hang out with their own family members and just do normal family stuff like cleaning the house once in a while.
If they were even hanging out with those family members. Now, I know in certain cases there are people who have to quit their jobs and go take care of a family member, and I know that's what these programs were created for, but it seems like a lot worse than that was going on. In fact, the data you used from DOGE and HHS, we now have people investigating here in Washington because apparently the same thing was going on here. Now, Luke, your reporting blew this wide open. Until then, it was daycares, maybe some hospice care, but you're the one who really cracked the code on this. And it seems like now you've inspired a whole bunch of investigative journalists, citizen journalists, independent journalists around the country to be looking into the same thing. And you've even been asked to testify about this.
Yeah, you know, these Medicaid waiver programs are really at the root of, even in Minnesota, pretty much everything but the daycares was Medicaid waivers. And a waiver is when a certain state is allowed to expand Medicaid beyond what it was intended to do. And it's kind of weird because the state gets all the benefit, but the feds are paying like 70% of it. So some of the states don't really seem to care that it's being wasted. And so many people started being eligible for these home health care aids that 15% of all home health care spending in the state of Ohio was going to a 4 square mile area, and that's the Somali neighborhood. And so that's like wildly disproportionate, like preposterously so, where it seems like a huge portion of the Somali refugees are claiming to be like on their deathbed and somebody needs to care for them for 8 or 16 hours a day. And then since you don't have to be a nurse or anything to do this work, they get their own family member to do it. And like $30 an hour times 16 hours a day really adds up. It's totally unverifiable to know if the person is really even doing anything for them. But it seems like doctors must be willing, actually just nurses are willing to sign these papers for people who aren't really that sick. And then this whole constellation of middleman companies cropped up to bill Medicaid and then pay the people who are hanging out with their family members, and of course the company keeps a cut. And so I went to these buildings, some of which had as many as 94 of these companies in it. So you walk down the hall and it's just home healthcare company after home healthcare company. The entire economy of the Somalian section of Columbus, Ohio, has just been erased and replaced by these schemes to bill Medicaid for just doing everyday things. And so just as the daycares, they're getting paid to watch their own kids or to have somebody else watch their kids even though they don't work. Here they're getting paid to just, live in a multi-generational household where their aging mother or father also live.
Insane, absolutely insane. We're talking with investigative reporter for the Daily Wire, Luke Rosiak, about the fraud he uncovered in Ohio, and similar things are likely happening here in Washington. Now, when you exposed all this, the thing that's shocking to me is you would think that everybody on both sides of the political aisle would say, we need to shut this down because we're running budget deficits. We could save money. Maybe for Republicans, we could save some taxpayer money. Maybe for Democrats, we can allocate these resources elsewhere. But the pushback has been insane. Now, I slowly see the left starting to say, okay, well, maybe we should investigate fraud. I'm shocked I'm seeing it here in Washington. Not to the extent I'd like to see. But are you as shocked as I am that so many people are saying, nope, we have to keep the fraud going?
All right, it's so bad. I don't know if I've just become, if I used to be more optimistic, but I feel like 10 years ago, Democrats would have said fraud is bad. We should really investigate it and put them in jail. But I testified to the U.S. Senate last week on this. No Democrats attended the hearing except the ranking member who has to. And he didn't ask a single question about of me, who was talking about Medicaid fraud in Ohio, or the two witnesses who were talking about Medicaid fraud in Minnesota. And he basically just didn't have a single question. And then same thing, I testified in Columbus. There was a Democrat who walked out of the hearing. And they immediately go to it's racist to question Medicaid funding, which is kind of weird because if there were people of all races billing Medicaid, how would that be racist? But the truth is, if you look at a database of who's owning these companies, it really is like almost entirely Somali and Bhutanese, at least in Columbus. And so there's a strong ethnic component to this, that they're billing massive sums of money, even though they supposedly just came here as refugees. But we have to look at the fraud because we can't afford not to. In Ohio alone, it costs $1 billion a year for this home health care. And, Medicaid is the largest line item. It's like a third of Ohio's budget, and it's doubled in the last 10 years, even though enrollment has been flat. And so when you look at why our government is headed for bankruptcy, it's really because of Medicaid. And yet until now, we had no idea who's receiving this money. And now that we have this database, you can see it's literally like one of the guys who owns this company, or a company that got $6 million, it's funded, it's operated by a woman whose husband is a felon for running a scam that pretended to provide services to elderly people without actually doing it. So he gets a felony. He has to pay back the government, but he says he's too poor. His wife creates a company doing the same thing. It gets $6 million. He still hasn't paid back what he owes the government. And so there's another one where it's owned by a husband and wife. Both of them have extensive criminal records for fraud and theft. They didn't even play the game of put it in the spouse's name. They just straight up have massive criminal records that imply that they would be the kind of people that bill the government for these visiting the old ladies when they actually didn't. And the government's like, yeah, that's fine. Have $1 million. And so some of these companies are billing $100,000 a month, even $1 million a month. The amount of money here is just really hard to fathom.
That's absolutely crazy. Luke, thank you so much for revealing all this. Thank you so much for your investigative journalism. I remember when it used to be on TV every night, there would be the problem solvers or the crime stoppers or something, and now you don't see this kind of stuff anymore. There's very few people still doing it, so kudos to you on staying on this and breaking this huge story.
Absolutely, Ari. Great talking with you, and I'm going to keep rolling it out on the Daily Wire. Just search for Medicaid Millions Daily Wire, and it's a multi-part series that I'm still rolling out because yeah, there's just so much money here.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Luke, and you should subscribe to the Daily Wire right now. You can do that so you can see Luke's series over there on the Daily Wire. I check it all the time because you get the best content from it and you can stay informed. And so many times you just replace the word Ohio with Washington because we're pretty sure the same kind of stuff is going on here. Luke Rosiak, investigative reporter for the Daily Wire. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Only good news to wrap up another episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And I will remind everybody, we are currently giving away a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Disclosure Day at AMC South Center on June 8th. Head on over to our website, kvi.com, to enter to win these tickets to Spielberg's latest movie. You can see it before anybody else if you win the tickets over at kvi.com, only at kvi.com. So I know Memorial Day weekend is over, but one last story that I thought was really nice. This one comes to us from the Post Millennial. After a veteran's wife posted online asking for someone to take a picture of her husband's grave in Arlington National Cemetery, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, I guess we should say former Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, was able to pay respects to the fallen soldier and get a photo for his widow. Ex-user Cheryl Ann posted to the platform on Sunday, this is probably a long shot, but if anybody happens to be in D.C. this weekend and plans on visiting Arlington, I'd love to see a fresh photo of my husband's grave in Section 60. The fallen soldier's name was Staff Sergeant Alan W. Shaw, who died in 2007. She then listed the details of her husband's grave. Although the woman said she didn't think much would come of it, the post has now been viewed nearly 2 million times as of Monday afternoon. One of those views included Gabbard, who fulfilled a request, taking a picture at the grave site. Quote, "It was an honor to visit your husband's grave today on your behalf and pay my respects. It was wonderful to see the beautiful flowers representing many others who did the same. Our nation owes a debt of gratitude to those who made the ultimate sacrifice and to the loved ones they left behind. Thank you for your service and sacrifice." She wrote a post with a picture of her placing the pictures by the grave. Several other visitors also posted in response, showing pictures of her husband's grave. Quote, "When I made this post, I truly believed it was a long shot. Living in Arkansas, we're not always able to make the trip to Arlington every Memorial Day. And there's always a little guilt that comes with that, but seeing complete strangers offer to visit Alan, leave flowers, take photos, and say his name when we can't be there ourselves has honestly overwhelmed me in the best possible way. This comment section restored a little piece of my faith in humanity today. I've always been proud to be an American, but tonight I'm even prouder knowing there are still so many people who refuse to let our fallen be forgotten." Section 60, the gravesite of the woman's husband, is the final resting place for hundreds of U.S. service members who were killed in combat during wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the War on Terror. It is considered to be one of the most sacred grave sites in the entire U.S. If you've never been to Arlington, it's a city. It's really something to behold. And you can see some amazing stuff there. I mean, aside from JFK, but you can also see the Challenger crew. I mean, there's some really incredible stuff to check out over there. In good news, this one here, and you can all make fun of me about it. Everybody knows I'm a Mets fan. I have not paid attention to the Knicks since 1999. Literally since 1999. I used to be more into basketball. Living in New York, you can't not be into basketball. I kind of ignored basketball, but every headline now says party like it's 1999 because the last time the Knicks were in the NBA Finals was, guess when, 1999. And I know exactly where I was. I was at my high school graduation, sitting there with a radio wire to headphones up the sleeve of my graduation robe. Had it up the sleeve under my little hat, listening to the game during. That's how much I used to care about these things. I do not care at all. In fact, our principal, anytime he got up because he was emceeing the thing, would give updates to the score as the night was going on and everybody else. And you would see everybody in my grade in their robes who was doing the same thing I was going, "Oh, yes," or whatever, while they were listening to it. It was kind of funny while that was going on. So the Knicks are back in the finals. And while that makes me happy, I'm going to admit something. I don't own any Knicks gear. I can't name a single member of the team. I can't even name who the coach is. And last night when my father posted in our family WhatsApp group, "Hey, Knicks are going to the finals," we're all like, "Oh, didn't know they were doing well."
Does this mean we don't have to hear you talk about
nope,
it?
Nope, we're not talking about it at all. Mets,
not
I
even
talk
if
about
if they're like a game away from winning the championship.
If they win, I will mention it as briefly as I mentioned it here because this is stolen valor. I don't get to claim this at all because I don't know who the coach is. I don't know. I know they still play at Madison Square Garden unless something massively has changed. I have not followed the Knicks since 1999. So, no, you don't get to – I'm not going full Ari on this one. Oh, Seahawks won. Throw the flags up. Do all the other stuff. No, we're not doing that with this one. It's nice that the Knicks are in. I guess if you had to say, Ari, are you a basketball fan? Sort of. Kind of. I was when I was a kid. So, yeah. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. Fear not. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.